Hi, this is Bobby Brown, and welcome to another fucking podcast.
You kids with your loud music and your Dan Fogelberg, your Zima, hula hoops, and Pac-Man video games, don't you see? People today have attention spans that can only be measured in nanoseconds.
See, son, old legends never die. They just lose weight.
Like a legend and an out-of-work bum with a lot of life.
Hello, Hollywood. Hello, world. Hello, my loyal minions. It is good to see you, and it's always good to be seen. My name is Izzy Presley, and welcome to another fucking podcast, the Tuesday edition, which is always the recorded edition. Monday nights, we do the live edition, take phone calls, talk about whatever. Last night, we talked about Gene Simmons and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Ice Cube, and my buddy Bros needing a kidney because he doesn't have any. I'm gonna post all that stuff on the Facebook page so you guys can check it out because, well, Bros needs a kidney. Bad. Very, very bad. What else did we talk about? I think that was all we talked about. Oh, and then we had a ginger call in. My buddy Derek from Green Bay, inside the Cheddar Curtain, with the first-hand experience from the Guns N' Roses show on Friday night in Las Vegas. So go back, check that out. You'll hear a lot of fun stuff, a lot of shenanigans, me ranting, doing all that kind of good stuff. And this got played about 10 times because now on the show, every time Courtney Cox is brought up from the Iron Maidens, this gets played. Every single time. So there you go. There's that. If you listen back and go, why in the hell is he playing that every time he mentions her name? Well, there you go. That's it. Just gets played every time her name is mentioned, and I think I said it about 10 times last night. So anyway, what can you do? What can you do? Another great show for you this week. I will have Adrian Dater, Bleacher Report, calling in to talk some NHL playoffs, talk some music. Gonna have a nice little fun conversation with him, and I could not get my guest confirmed for this week. She didn't get back to me, so I am going to pull out a interview from the archives that I did on Rockin 101 with John Corabi right after the first Monsters of Rock cruise when his acoustic record came out, which you need to own because it is amazing. Talking about the record, talking about his time with Crüe, lots of great stuff. Lots and lots of great stuff. And that's about an hour-long interview. It's very, very entertaining because Crab is hilarious. And very long-winded. It's like Trunk. You ask him 2 questions, and that's about 45 minutes. But it is what it is. Make sure you hit up that Facebook page, facebook.com/anothereffingpodcast. Make sure you hit up that Twitter machine, Izzy_Presley. On my quest for 1 million followers, I am currently sitting at 1,644. It's going up. Every week it's going up. We'll get there. We'll get there. So follow me on Twitter, and then make sure you have everybody else follow me on Twitter. There you go. If you're listening on Spreaker, please hit that follow button. And you want to listen on Spreaker because that way every Monday night when I do the live show, you can listen live. And when people call in, you can hear them. Because like I tried the YouTube thing and it was just my voice. You couldn't hear what was going on in the background. You couldn't hear the drops. Or the phone calls. Nothing. It was all you heard was me. So I don't know how I'm gonna do that. I need to get that so I can get all of that when I do the video broadcast of it too. But we'll see how it works. We'll figure something out. But yeah, so go to the YouTube page as well. You can find me on YouTube, Izzy Presley 1, I believe it is. Subscribe there. Subscribe on iTunes. You can support the show monetarily. It's not free to do. We'll never charge you for it, but if you want to support the show, it's simple. Izzy.Presley at PayPal, or at Gmail is your PayPal address. Izzy.Presley at Gmail is your PayPal. Going to be sending out stickers this week, so please hit me up if you want stickers. I have about 4 or 5 people that I'm sending them out to. Glad to have more. Just let me know. Just drop me an email, izzy@izzypresleyproductions.com, and we will get that taken care of. Or just, hit me up on the Facebook page or whatever. Whatever works for you. I was going to go off on this on the live show last night, and I forgot. Just self-indulged people. And, I'm one of them, I guess. But I saw this post on a friend's page. She was going to oh my God, this isn't even a baby shower. It's a gender, how the hell did they say it? Basically, they're having a party to reveal the gender of the baby. And her question was, am I supposed to bring a gift? And I'm thinking, if you have to bring a gift to that, and you have to bring a gift to the baby shower, Jesus Christ. Chill the fuck out. Here's how you throw a party when you reveal the gender of the baby. You go on Facebook and you go, oh hey, it's gonna be a girl. There's your party. A gender? Oh my God. Can we just stop? Can we literally just stop? This is why this generation is as fucked up as it is. All about me. It's ridiculous. Everybody is so fucking self-indulged, and social media has something to do with that. It really does. It's like, hey, people, they call Facebook face brag. And it pretty much is. That's why Twitter is a lot funner, because, it's just people being idiots and saying stupid shit in 140 characters or less. It's great. It's great. And yes, I'm guilty of it. Hey, look at me. Look where I am. Look what I'm eating. Okay, the food posts are okay by me. I do enjoy good food posts. Or some people call it food porn. But I enjoy that because I love food. Oh my God, do I love food. But, I will refuse to call myself a foodie. Do not trust anybody that calls themselves, oh my God, I'm just like such a foodie. Oh, I love food so much. I'm just such a foodie. You like Taco Bell. You get excited about going to fucking Applebee's. You never trust somebody who calls themselves a foodie. Trust a fat guy. Because we know where the real food is. We know where the good shit is. You will never hear a fat guy call himself a foodie. Ever. Trust a fat guy when it comes to food. They know where the good shit is. It's true. Oh, it's true. All right, we're going to take a very, very, very short break. 1 minute and 30 seconds. And we'll be right back with Adrian Dater from Bleacher Report. And talk some NHL playoffs, the greatest tournament in sport. It's another fucking podcast. RockstarLeatherworks.com is your home for badass rock and roll gear. Featuring 100% handmade leather bands, watches, cuffs, bracelets, and more, Rockstar Leatherworks has something for everybody. Whether you are going to the show or you are in it, you can find something to fit your needs. Choose from a variety of designs or create your own masterpiece. Their bands and watches are second to none. They also ship internationally. Who needs a stage to be a rock star? Check out rockstarleatherworks.com.
If you need to promote your band or business, or just want to stylize, personalize, or customize your ride, check out vid-decals.com. Want to create and customize your own stickers representing your band, or make your own bumper sticker? Vid Decals can do it. All stickers are printed on quality vinyl and can be placed on any flat surface. Stickers are an affordable way to promote your band or business. Go to vid-decals.com to get started. That's vid-decals.com. vid-decals.com.
Hey ladies, Death Threads will take that rock shirt that everybody has and make it your own in a flattering, sassy, and simple way. There are one-of-a-kind, handmade rocker tube top dresses, lace-up tees, and tank tops already in stock. Check out the online store at etsy.com/shop/DeathThreadsInc. And like Death Threads on Facebook for special offers and custom orders. That's etsy.com/shop/DeathThreadsInc. Death Threads will make you the envy of the party.
All right. And we have returned. Joining us on another fucking podcast from Bleacher Report. He covers the Avs. You just cover the Avs? Do you cover the whole NHL?
No, man, I cover the whole NHL. In fact, I really don't cover the Avs very much at all anymore, except going to the games and seeing two teams play and seeing all the visiting teams that come through. But my official title with Bleacher Report now is NHL National Columnist. So whatever that means, I guess I opine about everything with 30 teams instead of one now. So I'm enjoying it a lot. It's good company, and I'm very happy to be out of the newspaper business.
Right. Yeah, and that business is not doing well the way it is. But I suppose you don't have to travel now either.
Actually, I do have to travel some. I went to the All-Star game in Nashville for Bleacher Report and covered that. I went to Phoenix for a week and did some stories from there, kind of feature stories that were based on the teams that were coming through there. And I was also supposed to do a huge John Scott feature. Ironically, way before all the All-Star stuff happened with him, we had a big story planned on him about being one of the last enforcers in the league.
Right.
And that was why I was doing down there. And then all of a sudden, this All-Star stuff happened, and it kind of killed that whole enforcer story. But it created a news story when I was down there about him being traded right before being voted in as a playoff player. And I'll be covering the NHL playoffs. I'll be covering the whole Stanley Cup Finals, wherever that may be. And there's probably a couple other little trips involved with hockey that I probably can't reveal right now. But I don't enjoy the experience at all much anymore of getting on an airplane and having some, doesn't matter how tall the person is in front of me. They could be 4'1" or 6'10".
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna lean all the way back in their seat. In my knees, I'm 6'6". Yep. And that's gonna happen every single time I'm on an airplane. That's just the way it is.
See,
and,
you gotta do my trick.
I don't.
You got to do my trick. When you get up to the desk, like when you're in the terminal, you just say, "Hey, do you have any exit row available?" And then they swap you out for free.
That. Well, no, I do that, but they're stupid airlines now are much more cagey about that now. They only they've saved those exit row seats for people who either want to pay a little more now,
mm-hmm.
Or people would request it way in advance, and usually it's more their senior travelers. I used to be a United Premier executive for many years, mm-hmm. which basically meant that any seat I want on the airplane, I can kick that person out of, pretty much, except for first class.
Right.
And now that I don't travel as much anymore, I'm sort of low-class steerage passenger, so it's harder to get that exit row seat. I used to be able to get that at any moment I wanted, like, give me the exit row or else I'll write a negative critique of your airline as a premier executive, and I'll have the whole world read it. I'll have the whole hockey world read it. I didn't actually do that, but you know, you get the point.
Right.
And I'm back to being just a low class nothing back there, but that's okay. I don't miss the travel that much. I do like to travel some, but I don't miss the everyday airport world at all.
Yeah, you know, it's like I usually fly American. Adrian Dater joining us, by the way. I usually fly American, and I never have a problem with swapping out that for the exit row. But I usually fly American because Al Secord flies for American, and I'm just waiting for him to be my pilot one so I can stand up and yell, Secord sucks.
Oh, man. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know he's a pilot.
Yeah, he's a pilot.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. Wow. That's news to me. I did not know that. Al Secord, a former Boston Bruins great, too, and I used to love growing up as a Bruins fan. Funny, the last time I actually had any interaction at all with Al Secord was him chewing me out, believe it or not.
Oh, really? Please tell me this story.
I've never met him at all, but I wrote a story I used to write for Sports Illustrated website, and I did a big story about how smoking used to be real prevalent in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys, there used to be ashtrays in the Chicago Blackhawks locker room. I mean, absolutely. You know, guys like Dennis Savard and Dan Nikita, these guys just lit up right there in the game. I mean, between periods, Mike Keenan, when he took over coach of the Blackhawks, told me for the story that he used to have to, you know, get everybody back in the locker room for a speech between periods because everybody was out smoking, and he basically had to tell them, like, look, you know, if you're gonna smoke, you're gonna have to do it any other time between periods because I got to talk to you guys in the locker room about, you know, the game we're playing, you know. So,
right.
Anyway, Al Secord, according to the several players I quoted in the story about the old Blackhawk days, he used to light up quite a bit. And somehow, you know, I threw his name in there as one of the smokers, big smokers in the league. Well, he sent me back an email saying, and I tried to call him, you know, to confirm all that. Like, hey, Al, it's Adrian Dater. You don't know me from Adam, but
right.
Hoping to talk to you about this story I'm doing on smoking in the NHL. And, you know, a couple of guys have said that you might have lit up back in the day, and I just wanted to call. Well, he never responded to that. But, you know, I had 3 or 4 people telling me he did, so went ahead and used his name. Well, sure enough, I get an email from him after the story run saying I had never smoked in the day of my life or something like that. I never smoked at all as a player. And I sent him a very apologetic note back saying, hey, you know, I'm sorry. I wish you know, I mean, if you didn't, I'm sorry. I know a bunch of people said you did.
Right. So
we ended up putting a note in the story after the fact saying Secord, you know, denied ever smoking. So anyway, that's my Al Secord story. He seemed like if I ever see him on the flight, though, I'll say, hey, Al, I mean, hey, I saw you in the smoking lounge just now. So what do you think? No, I'm just kidding. I hope he's doing well, and I didn't know he's a pilot. I hope to run into him myself. He's a great Bruin, and I meant no offense to the great hockey player.
Right. Well, of course, you know, we always hated him in Minnesota, you know, with that whole Blackhawks North Stars rivalry, and it was, I mean, we still hate him. The very first Wild home game was a preseason game against Chicago, and there was a sign in the crowd that said Secord still sucks. That's how we feel about Al Secord.
That's true hockey right there. I know he was a dirty, not dirty. He was a tough player. Let's call him. I know he was definitely one of the last, you know, really great like fighters. Plus he could score too. There really weren't that many after that.
Right. Well, you know, and that was one of the things I wanted to talk about too, because I'm not. NHL is it's still my favorite sport, but it's it's not as great as it used to be. Personally, I mean, when I hate the fact that they wear home darks, and I hate they're trying to phase fighting out of the game, and I hate the shields and yada yada yada. But I think it negatively affects the game by phasing that kind of stuff out, because that's part of the thing that made hockey so great.
Well, if you're asking my opinion of it too, I think it matters. I mean, I think it's just it's a fascinating subject right now. It sort of mirrors what's going on in our society now.
Right.
I think there's just a huge, political correctness, environment in this country now. And, don't watch what you say, watch what you think, or you're going to be, publicly shamed for it, or you're going to be ostracized by the rest of the mob out there.
Yep.
I think a lot of that is great for society. A lot of things that were, wrong with our world are great to be exposed and rightfully, exposed and just called out by the quote unquote PC world. But there's the other side of it where I think there's a lot of people who, like you just said, think it's gone too far. We're becoming a nanny state. Everything's, everybody's trying to get insulated into their little quote-unquote safe zone, safe space. And there's a lot of people, probably older in demographic, who think that, but maybe not always, who think that, it's going too far, that there's no safe space in this world, that, you have to go through turmoil and strife in this world to really find yourself and to stand up and fight and hit back and that whole thing, because there's always going to be somebody who's going to challenge you. And I think that's the dilemma that hockey faces with their, the old school people who like good, rough, tough hockey that, it's a war of attrition. You fight, you stand up for yourself. It may be dirty, but, that's hockey, right? That's quote unquote, that's hockey. So I am someone who, I'm 51 years old now, right? I'm getting to be pretty darn old, right? And I grew up watching hockey when it was rough and tough, and it was fights, and you hated the other team, and you booed, and you really sometimes only tuned in to see. I mean, you wanted to watch the game. I loved the game, but I do remember as a kid, like, okay, the Flyers coming into town. It's going to be great hockey, but I also want to see Dave Schultz, get the shit kicked out of him.
Right.
And, it didn't happen all that often, but when it did, you felt on, you just screamed to the top of the world. You hated it. And that was part of why you loved it. I mean, that's why wrestling has succeeded so well. You have to have a villain. You have to have the black hat.
Yep.
You have to have, that's why any movie needs drama in it, the bad guy and the good guy usually. Otherwise, it usually doesn't sell. Well, the same thing could be said of hockey in 10 or 20 years when we all look back and say, all said and done with the sport, if we eliminate the villains and the tough guys and the hatred from hockey, what are we left with? Are we left with just a pretty game?
Soccer on ice.
Where that's nice to watch. It's nice to watch guys skate and score some goals and some saves. Or do we want a real dramatic story with hatred on both sides, the villain and the hero, depending on what side you're on? And I think hockey is gonna come to a crossroads if it isn't already about that. You don't see the hatred of the other side like you did in our day, and like it or not, drama sells. This is entertainment. So I see your point. I think I agree with it, but I also believe that I don't want to. You don't want to see guys get killed. You don't want to see guys get maimed by cheap shots. You know what I mean? Right. But if you could just know in your head that, hey, the guy was a cheap shot to the guy's head, but he's gonna be okay. The thing we didn't realize back in the day is maybe these guys aren't gonna be okay.
Right.
And so,
right.
It's a tough call there, humanity-wise. But entertainment-wise, you want to see the fight, right? That's
exactly.
You know, that's true.
Exactly, and this is my thing too. It's like, even today, when there's a fight, what happens? Every single person in that arena is standing up and cheering.
Yep. I mean, not as much as it used to be, though, because fighting is becoming less and less prevalent.
Right.
So it's not. What's happening, though, is when you see a fight, it's becoming more of a surprise to people. It's like, oh, look at here's a fight, just like the old days, the old olden days, you know.
Yep.
All right, let's pipe up and look at it, but it's not. You know, maybe that's good though, because the fights that are happening now are rarer. So maybe you will pipe up more and watch. It used to be, you know, you saw a fight every other minute, which was not entertaining. You know, I can't believe. We grew up watching games that were full-out bench-clearing brawls.
Oh, I missed that.
There was a fight. Can you imagine? It's like, how did they let that happen?
I know.
How did they let players just run up the bench in gloves all over the ice for 15 minutes to sort out any fight? The game took 4 hours.
Right. I'm just happy when you get a good line brawl nowadays. And those are rare.
I know. It's so rare.
And of course, it's like the White Buffalo, the goalie fights.
There was too much fighting in the old days.
Right.
But there were also some great fighters that you thought, man, I want to see that. You know, Schultz versus, Stan Jonathan, or Bob Probert versus Tony Twist.
Right.
Well, I remember you were like, oh my God, it's on.
Yeah, I remember. I remember going to those
boxing. Yeah, I was just going to say boxing. I mean, boxing is, when it was good, boxing was the most compelling sport in the country.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
had crowds. You read old stories about boxing in the early days. They had crowds of 100,000 people crowding around a little ring in the 1910 or 20 watching Jack Johnson and Jack Dempsey.
Yeah.
I mean, that people like a fight. The thing is, you don't want death and maiming of people to happen.
Right.
And that's the crux of the dilemma, I guess. And I don't know. I think it's sad. I see a lot of ex-fighters and guys who fought every night for their livelihood, joining this concussion lawsuit and stuff like that. I think it's sad in a way, because I think that they talk forever about how fighting is necessary in hockey, and it's a crucial component of the sport. And now they want to sue the league for the injuries they suffered. It's hard for me to wrap my head around both sides of that. I just think the whole thing is sad. I think it just it's just it's unfortunate that we had to come to this, but I don't know. To come around to the full point, I'd rather see great hockey, scoring chances every minute, great skill, great goaltending. That's what I'd really like to see. But if we're going to see sort of a patty cake sport where people can't hit each other and everything's everything's so stacked in favor of the goaltending and defense now. The goals are so hard to score. I don't know. It's going to be harder to sell the sport if they don't have a little of that old WWE violence to it.
Oh, I agree, and I just don't want it to be so scoring prevalent. I mean, because we used to have in Minneapolis, we had one of those fucking roller hockey teams, 3-on-3, and it was 13-10. It's it's boring. It's too much. That's one thing that I love about hockey the way it is. It's I love a good 3-2 game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too. I do think the league got it. It's horrible for about 5 to 8 years. The dead puck era. I mean, it was just too hard to watch some of the games with just the rodeo defense, the guys clutching and grabbing. I mean, that was terrible to watch. I love the opened up rules. I love the way the offense could freelance a lot more. But those coaches are so smart, man. They devise defenses and schemes and goaltending equipment and everything to keep those scores down still.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, I do think that some of the, it can be boring still to watch a hockey game with just, like, no realistic scoring chances. All I watch for as a hockey fan myself is scoring chances.
Right.
Make the goalie make a good save. Don't call it a great product when, the closest you can get is a little snapshot off the board from 30 feet, and the goalie makes a little save. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to get this game right now because everybody's so much smarter about everything now. It's like it's really a game of like just tic tac, just 3-dimensional chess out there. It seems like sometimes, and I don't know. That can be really exciting to watch if you're a hardcore hockey fan, but the problem with hockey has always been it's harder to get that, quote unquote mainstream Joe Sixpack kind of fan out there. I don't know. I've always said to heck with him anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's like hockey is.
Let's have a selected sport. Yeah, we don't need those guys because we don't want it to become Britney Spears, right? We want to be, we want to be early. We want to be like the first Pink Floyd album or something. When people didn't really know about it. Just we know what's best. We know that we're the smart people. We get it. We don't need to get the unwashed masses in here all at once. But on the other hand,
it's all about money.
Hockey. Yeah, it's about money, and it's about we all want to see hockey become bigger, right? But
right.
There's going to be trade-offs if that ever happens.
Exactly. I mean, it's always been a niche sport, and I'm okay with it. It's like leave our sport alone.
Absolutely, I'm fine being in a niche. I mean, I like burnt toast with fried onions on it. That's a niche.
Right.
So I'm fine with that.
Right. Well,
doused with whiskey sauce. That most people don't like it, but I do, and I'm fine with that.
Exactly, and it's so funny trying to talk to people about the game that like they just don't get it. It's like, all right, cool, we don't need you. Get down to the rink and you'll enjoy it. I guarantee it. And speaking of our great game, we are rolling into the greatest tournament of all, the Stanley Cup Playoffs. What are your thoughts going into it? I mean, who do you like? Who do you don't like? Talk to me.
Well, I think that the Chicago Blackhawks are going to get beat in the first round. That's one thing. I think they got enough hangover effect and enough too many warning signs that I saw down the stretch to think to really believe they can win it again for the first time in since 1998. No teams won back-to-back since the Wings.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to predict the Blues in the first round over the Blackhawks to beat them this time. That probably guarantees a Hawks sweep, but I'm going to stay with it anyway. I think that the Capitals. I'm fascinated by the Capitals, right? I think that they are a great team with everything you want, absolutely everything you want. The coach, the goalie, the center, the forwards, the good D. And I still think maybe they're going to choke in the first round. It's been such a star-crossed franchise in so many ways. But I'm really fascinated by the Capitals. Like, I really want to see. I think they'll beat the Flyers, though. I think the Flyers are definitely a very thin team, and they'll beat the Flyers. But I predicted in Bleacher Report a Washington. Los Angeles final.
That's actually what I'm looking at right now. I did my picks, and that's exactly what I got.
Really?
Yep.
Well, great minds think alike.
That's right. Us gingers think alike.
I predicted the Kings to win in 7. And I just the Kings are just. It always comes back to the same fundamentals in hockey, too, really, when it's said and done. They've got the center. number one center, Kopitar. They've got the number one defenseman, Doughty, and they've got the playoff-tested goalie in Quick. You got those three things. You guys, you know, and you win. You can win 4 out of 7 so easily.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you may not always be the best over 82 games if you don't have the other parts, but the Kings have shown in their other 2 Stanley Cup wins that they didn't need that they just needed to get in and win with those little core guys, and here they are again. Well, they're all healthy and playing well.
Yeah, and it's that thing. They win the cup, they miss the playoffs. They win the cup, they miss the playoffs, and now they're going to win the cup again. Yep. I know it's pretty sad though.
Yep, and that's it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, well, they blew the division on the final weekend, but to me that only made them me like them more. I always feel like the Kings are better when they're a little bit underestimated, and I think that's what people are doing right now. And here we go. The Kings so could easily just prove everyone wrong again.
You know, and it's pretty sad, you know, growing up in Minnesota, knowing that I had to move to Los Angeles to see what it feels like to win a Stanley Cup.
I know, isn't it?
Oh my God! Oh yeah, let's talk about the Wild Dallas series a little bit too. I mean, because to me, it's like watching the ex-wife fight the new girlfriend, who I wish was still the ex-wife. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think Dallas is going to beat them. So it's like I'm torn every time I watch the Wild and the Stars play. I mean, what are your thoughts on this series?
Well, I think the Stars win. I mean, you know, I've definitely been wrong before in counting the Wild out of things. I mean, I will give myself credit. When Mike Yao was fired this year, I thought everybody was like, "What a disaster in Minnesota! It's only going to get worse." I'm like, no, these guys are always, every time everything seems to go wrong, totally wrong for these guys in the regular season, they somehow turn it around, and sure enough, they did again with John Torchetti. But they look terrible down the stretch. I mean, they lost 5 in a row. Mm-hmm. They seem like they just don't have I don't know what it is, the internal or external chemistry that they need. Now, the reports are that Zach Parise is probably not going to play.
Yeah, that's what it sounds
like.
That
is definitely a loss for a while. I mean, that is unquestionably going to be a loss for the Wild. So, if they don't screw it up, I think the Stars win in, 4 or 5. I mean, I think it's going to be a short series. I know Tyler Seguin is questionable still, but to me, I think that's a good crowd in Dallas. They've got a good crowd in the playoffs. They're they're a fickle market with winners and losers. Mm-hmm. They're not going to show up if you're not winning, but it's a good crowd in Dallas. I got to hand it to the people in Dallas who, they come out and they have fun when the games matter, and I think it's going to be fun. I remember covering the Avs Stars playoff series in the late '90s, and I mean, the Avs and Red Wings rivalry got all the ink, but I'll tell you that Avs Stars rivalry was like not far behind, really. It was bloody, it was nasty, and those fans in Dallas, they got after it. They were a loud crowd in that building, Reunion Arena. I mean, I still remember them chanting "Eddie's better" at Patrick Waugh. Crushing. The Avs lost 2 Game 7s in the Western Finals of back-to-back years to the Stars, and at the end of each game, you could hear the Stars fans chanting "Eddie's better" at Waugh. And he was better. Ed Belfour was better in those series, so they weren't wrong. But boy, it kind of got on your skin too. And so I like it. I like Dallas being back in the playoffs. I hope things go well, and I'm sure they will in the first round. I think they might be exposed going forward after that, though, with their sort of a little bit less than perfect defensive system still.
What's the difference between covering Waugh as a player and as a coach?
Oh, wow. I mean, pretty much, the problem with the Avalanche is, it's not always a problem, maybe, because I really like the PR guy. The guy's name is John Martineau. He's been there since the Quebec days. He's a personal friend of mine. He's a really nice guy, and he's a really good dude. But they have a philosophy at the Avalanche that the coaches shouldn't speak too much. They don't allow the assistant coaches to talk to the media at all.
Wow.
So Patrick Waugh, the player, was a guy that I could sort of hang around his locker for several minutes or more and shoot the breeze with him a little bit and talk about other things, and the media relations staff wouldn't get all over you for that. But as a coach, everything is very, very scripted. The coach comes out after a practice, let's say, and you have your allotted 5 minutes with him. Or after a game, you have your allotted 3 or 4 or 5 questions, and that's it. And then then it's like it's over. There's no lingering around to ask more questions. So it was harder to talk stuff with Waugh as a coach than as it was as a player. That said, Waugh was never he could be very, very quotable at times as a player, but I think he usually wanted to use that as a method to beat the other teams. Mm-hmm. Like he would know if he said something good that it would get in the papers and create a controversy. I remember in the 97 playoffs when the Western Finals had Detroit, it was 2-1 in the series. Detroit had won Game 3 by a pretty good margin, and Waugh said before Game 4, like, "We're done now. Let's just play. Let's play." I remember that was a quote. And I think the Avs got their butts kicked in Game 4, so it didn't work out so well. He said afterward, like, "Hey, I was just trying to get my team fired up. What do you want?" But,
right.
He, he's always been Patrick Waugh is a very hard person to get to know. I don't think he has very, very many real close friends in the world. Not many confidants. That is, I think he knows a ton of people, but it's very hard to get to know the real Patrick Waugh. Even for me, I never felt like I had that real man-to-man rapport with him, like I did some other players like Joe Sakic or Claude Lemieux or guys from that era that I got to know better. Patrick always kept a little bit of distance from the media, and I think most people. And as a coach, it became even harder to really sit down and talk shop with him. There was a night in Toronto, I remember his first year of coaching, I came back from walking around, I think eating dinner in Toronto or something, and I saw him in the hotel bar, and he was with Joe Sakic and the rest of the staff. And I sat down, had a couple drinks, and conversation was flowing pretty well, let's put it that way, and I definitely heard a lot of Patrick's private opinions, but being what's said off the record stays off the record.
Absolutely.
That's how I'll have to leave in with him.
Oh, no, look, that's...
so, like, he could be, he had his moments where he could be really fun and let loose, but he usually didn't do that when the recorders are turned on. That's unless he really wanted to plant a seed in the media and get some kind of winning advantage. That's the way he was.
Yeah, that's I can totally understand that too. I mean, I'm good friends with a former Wild player, and when he used to come on this shitty little public access TV show that me and my buddy had, and on the show it was like straight laced but still fun. But then we'd have the beers afterwards, and that's when everything, would come out. He's like, and this does not get repeated. It's like, duh. Yeah, we're having beers. We're not recording this. Before we go, you brought up Quebec. There's a lot of rumors, it's like, is the NHL going to end up back there? Is it going to end up in Vegas? What are your thoughts on what's going to be going on with that?
Well, it's still a little bit of a mystery, but I think what's going to happen is Vegas gets a team for 17-18. I think it's going to be announced in the awards show in Las Vegas. The league will make a big fun announcement with that. But I think Quebec is going to have to wait a little bit. The dollar sinking, the loonie sinking, some more due diligence on the part of the league, I think, toward the buyers of Quebec has has slowed things a little bit. Let's not forget the principal owners of the would-be return of Nordiques to Quebec are basically a media company, and a lot of their assets are in print media, which, going back to our first minute of the podcast,
right?
Print media is not exactly a thriving entity anymore. So I hope and think that Quebec might get a team back, but I think it's pretty iffy. I know they built an arena there, and usually the league won't, really allow you to build an arena unless they give you a really good heads up if they're going to give you a team. So I think the odds are still pretty good. I just don't think it's going to happen right away. There could be things that change. I mean, I know Carolina and, Phoenix, Arizona, whatever they're called, it's still always an open question. But I don't think they're going to get a team right away. I think that there's just enough alarm at the NHL about especially the dollar value of the loonie that things are going to be a little tighter than they expected there. It's a really small market in Quebec. I mean, there's a reason why they left Quebec in 1995.
Right.
For a reason. It's not a big place. It's a pretty, it's a great city. I mean, the people are fantastic. The town is fantastic. I'll never forget going back there in 2001, walking the streets of Quebec City, and then looking at and just sampling the great restaurants and the passion for hockey that people had there. I mean, it's a gorgeous place, but the problem is it's just not very big, and I think the league is just worried that, the dollar value of the franchise, if they don't have a strong dollar there, that it's going to be in trouble. So my basic prediction is Las Vegas, given the go-ahead, 2017-18. Everything else is going to be still a little bit TBA. Could be a franchise that moves, or it could be an expansion franchise and everything's fine. But I think it's going to be a little longer for Quebec.
It's weird, though. It's like you look at these markets that they lose a team, and the team was struggling there, but then they get a team back. The team it seems to flourish. I mean, it happened in Minnesota. I mean, it's happening in Winnipeg.
Yep.
Ottawa. I don't know. It was like maybe they appreciate it more, even though it's so fucking expensive now. I remember going to North Stars games and paying $12 to sit on the glass.
Yeah, I know, right? I remember paying $6 for a Boston Celtics New Orleans Jazz ticket in 1979, and it was $6 a ticket. For scalp tickets, the outrage.
Right.
We had to pay $12 for me and my buddy to go to the game. What an outrage! That was pretty good seats in the old Boston Garden.
Right.
So costs have escalated. Yeah, I think though that look, Quebec is obviously there's no problem with hockey passion there. The fans know more about hockey in their little fingers than probably you and me combined. I mean,
right.
That's where sport was born. But you have to ask yourself, what if Quebec gets a dynasty, right? What if they're in the NHL Stanley Cup Final for 10 straight years? What's that going to be for the U.S. Television ratings? I mean, these are things that the league has to ask themselves, and they do constantly. What if Winnipeg gets a dynasty, and they're in the finals for 10 years? Are U.S. hockey fans really going to tune into Winnipeg Stanley Cup Finals on NBC? Do you really think so?
I think so.
Or are they going to be back to the? You really do? Do you want to know what the ratings were for when Calgary was in the finals in 2004 on ABC?
Oh yeah, that was brutal. That was brutal.
Still, I mean, it was below 1.
Wow.
So they got up to the 3s and 4s and 8s, I think, and when Chicago and Philly were in it, and the Rangers and LA. But when it was, I remember when it was Calgary, Tampa Bay in 2004, the TV ratings were just, it was just a step above your old local access channel ratings probably in Minnesota. I mean, it wasn't, it was pathetic. And I remember the league putting out these releases saying, 13 to 14, or 48 to 51-year-olds, they're up 2% from last year. Good news for the NHL. Everything else is down 88%, but hey, we're up 2% with that crucial 48 to 51 demographic.
Oh my
So
God.
I mean, it was dismal back then, and I think that a lot of it had to do with Calgary Flames being in the Stanley Cup Finals, and nobody from the U.S. cared, and that's a unique problem to the NHL that the other sports don't have as much.
Mm-hmm.
They still have it though in the other sports when a team like a small market team makes the finals, and you read all the stories about the executives are killing themselves now. It's going to be an Indiana versus San Antonio final or something in the NBA, as opposed to New York, LA, Boston, LA. It's the same thing though with the NHL on a smaller scale, but Chicago, New York Rangers is going to do a lot better rating than the Winnipeg Jets and Tampa Bay Lightning ever would. Well, they're in the same conference now, but no, they're not. They're in separate. Sorry, I forgot they switched.
I miss it.
My point is,
yeah, go ahead.
But do we care? I mean, who cares? I mean, it's the finals. Maybe they get low rating for a series. Big deal.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
But I'm telling you, though, like, if, you run the risk of, when you allow teams like Quebec back in the league that were really small market teams, you run the risk of nobody caring in the rest of the sports world, other than Quebec and hardcore hockey fans after that. And, it's just part of the sort of Faustian bargain that the league seems to always have more than the other sports. Damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Right, exactly. Well, hashtag make hockey great again. That's all I got to say. Adrian Dater, pleasure. You're welcome back at any time. Anything you ever want to fucking talk about, give me a call. We'll get you on. Good to talk to you again, because I think
we didn't even talk about Kiss.
I know.
We didn't even talk about Kiss.
I know.
I know, right?
I know. Next time.
Next time,
absolutely.
We'll talk about the birthdays of the 36-city America Rocks Again tour of Kiss coming up. July 19th, Colorado Springs, Colorado at the World Arena, and July 19th to July 20th at the Cheyenne Frontier Days in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I'll be there for both days, and I'll have my Paul Stanley makeup on, and I will be as happy as I've ever been in my life.
Just roughly before we go here, did you see the picture that Ace Frehley shared the other day? It was all you saw was the back of Paul Stanley's Iceman and the back of Ace's Les Paul, and it was a picture from behind the guitars, like in an auditorium, and it was like teasing us, because I think they're doing a video for the song that Ace and Paul did on Ace's new record.
No, I didn't see that. Oh God, I hope I didn't see that, but I'll check it out. I don't know. You know what? I don't know. I don't think I'm tuned into Ace's social media as much as I should. I loved Ace, but he was never my guy. It was always Gene. Gene Simmons was my guy in Kiss. I love Gene Simmons. But no, I'll check that out. I love Paul Stanley too. God, I got to meet Paul Stanley and interview him and
That's
stuff,
right.
which we'll talk about next time. But it was just like the ultimate highlight of my whole life. But no, I will do that. God, I wish Ace, maybe that's a sign that maybe the Springs is on and maybe Ace comes back to the tour. What do you think?
Oh, God.
Next topic?
Well, yeah. Well, one, he would have to lose some weight, because he'd look like the Michelin Man in that outfit.
Oh, wow. Hey, that's all right.
Yeah,
Put him down. Put him in that black. Put him in that black, like, lightning bolt costume, single singlet down the middle with that lightning bolt. It looks fine.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I would be so happy.
Well, Kiss is definitely still part of my world at age 51. I think that's a lot of people are going to really say prayers for me right now if they're going to say listen to this and think, what a sad soul. And they're probably right. So I'll welcome those prayers.
Hey, man,
I still to this day listen to Kiss I was just listening to the full Destroyer album last night on YouTube. I just said, all right, you know what? I haven't listened to Destroyer in a long time. I clicked on YouTube. I'm like, let's just play the whole album. I'm like, God, there's stuff you forgot about, you know?
Yep.
And, you know,
Hey, man,
loved it, you know?
I'm in your boots.
Forever.
I'm in your boots. I have an Ace Frehley tribute band, so it's still all about Kiss for me.
Absolutely.
All
As
right.
it should be.
As well. Dater, great to talk to you, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Easy. Great pleasure to be here. Look forward to the next time.
I can't wait, man. Adrian Dater, Bleacher Report. Right after this, my classic interview with John Corabi. It's another fucking podcast. RockstarLeatherworks.com is your home for badass rock and roll gear. Featuring 100% handmade leather bands, watches, cuffs, bracelets, and more, Rockstar Leatherworks has something for everybody. Whether you are going to the show or you are in it, you can find something to fit your needs. Choose from a variety of designs or create your own masterpiece. Their bands and watches are second to none. They also ship internationally. Who needs a stage to be a rock star? Check out RockstarLeatherworks.com.
If you need to promote your band or business, or just want to stylize, personalize, or customize your ride, check out vid-decals.com. Want to create and customize your own stickers representing your band, or make your own bumper sticker? Vid Decals can do it. All stickers are printed on quality vinyl and can be placed on any flat surface. Stickers are an affordable way to promote your band or business. Go to vid-decals.com to get started. That's vid-decals.com. vid-decals.com.
Hey ladies, Death Threads will take that rock shirt that everybody has and make it your own in a flattering, sassy, and simple way. There are one-of-a-kind, handmade rocker tube-top dresses, lace-up tees, and tank tops already in stock. Check out the online store at etsy.com/shop/DeathThreadsInc. And like Death Threads on Facebook for special offers and custom orders. That's etsy.com/shop/DeathThreadsInc. Death Threads will make you the envy of the party.
All right, we are back, and now I am going to give you my classic interview with John Corabi that I did on Rockin' 101, WHMH, the rock station. And this was right after the very first Monsters of Rock cruise, when his acoustic record was coming out. I love pulling out these old interviews every once in a while, so this is another long one. So enjoy John Corabi for my Rockin' 101 days. Rockin' 101, 30 years of rockin'. Ladies and gentlemen, as promised, I am joined by John Corabi on the line. How you doing today, man?
I'm all right. How are you?
Dude, I'm excellent. Last time I saw you, you were stumbling through the MSC Poja with a bottle of water that was filled with tequila, and you made me drink some.
Yes. Yes, I vaguely remember this.
Yeah, I vaguely remember it too, man. What a good time. I suppose you got to be excited for this year.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be cool this time. Well, last year I did 2 acoustic sets on the boat. This year I'm going to do an acoustic performance and an electric performance. So it should be cool, and it's, you know, honestly, I just dig it. Like, you know, I went down last year with my girlfriend, and we just kind of hung on the deck, and it was very cool. It's kind of a work vacation, but it was awesome. It was very good meeting a lot of people from all over the world, actually. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like a festival on a boat. You know, it's just really cool.
Yeah, and actually, I think one of the highlight of that whole thing for me is when you guys did the jam session. And you pulled that kid up to sing Crazy Train because you didn't know the words. It's like, you know what? That is what this whole thing is about. I mean, I still get goosebumps thinking about it.
Well, you know, it's funny. Like, you know, I don't know, man. You know, for me, it's like, you know, when I was very, very young, I had an uncle that, you know, he would take me to, you know, different shows. And when I say different, I'm talking like, you know, I went to go see Humble Pie, and then, you know, he took me to go see people like Frank Sinatra and stuff as well. And one of the things that he told me, he wasn't an entertainer, he just appreciated music. But one of the things he told me was, you know, if there's, you know, if somebody wants to go, if they want to hear you, they can just buy the record and save all the money for a ticket price and you know, parking and T-shirts, and they can save all that and just stay home and listen to the CD. You know, So for me, it's just like I don't really take myself when I'm on stage. I like having fun. I like, you know, even when I do the electric sets, even in a bigger setting, you know, like I'll kind of screw around with different people in the audience. You know, if I see somebody doing something like, you know, just whatever, even like halfway through a set, somebody may yawn, and if it catches my eye, like I'll just sit there and I'll play around with them and harass them, and just as a joke, though, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I never take it all that serious. It should be fun. It should be enjoyable when people come to see you. And, you know, at the end of the day, I didn't really, they pulled the, you know, I mean, I've heard Crazy Train a million times, and I knew most of the lyrics, do you know what I mean? But I just kind of wasn't real sure of the song, and this kid was down there like, I'll sing it. So I'm like, all right, well then get up here and sing it, you know. And it was fun. It was cool. He had a great time. I sang with him, and you know, it was cool. That kid actually wrote to me, and he just said, man, that was like so awesome to be able to stand on stage with Brad Gillis and George Lynch and Robbie Crane and myself and just whoever else was on stage at the time. And it was a great thing for him. So why not? You know what I mean? It's like I said, it's a party atmosphere. It's a fun time to be had by all. And, you know, whatever, there's plenty of other times to be serious in life. You know what I mean? Rock and roll isn't one of them.
Yeah, and the thing that I remember is the look on his face. It was like the look on Mark Wahlberg's face in Rockstar when he got pulled up on stage, you know, during that show. It's like the exact shit-eating grin. But yeah, dude, it was awesome. It was awesome. Now, the one band that I noticed last year that everybody kind of went out to see was UFO. Is there anybody this year that you're really excited to see?
Well, you know, to be honest with you, you know, all the bands, you know, I'd honestly say there's probably 90% of the bands on the cruise that I'm fans of. I'm a fan of Cinderella, you know, huge fan of those guys. We grew up together in Philadelphia, and, you know, in all honesty, there was 3 or 4 bands in the 80s that I thought were, you know, just, you know, very cool, and I liked their progression, you know what I mean? Like from where they started from to where they ended up to. Like I just did some shows with Eric Brittingham, and I said I really liked the first record, but I loved the fact that they got bluesier as they went along, you know what I mean? You know, so like I've always dug Cinderella. I've always dug Tesla, big fan of Kicks. I'm kind of curious to see, I guess Queensryche is going to be on the boat. I know some of the girls in Vixen, so I'm excited to see them. And just, you know, the whole thing, it's just going to be fun, you know what I mean? I've got a friend on the boat from Canada, Russ Dwarf from the Killer Dwarfs. Yeah. You know, so I want to see him and hang out with him. He's a blast to hang out with all the time. So it should be a fun time, man. It should be really cool. So there's quite a few of the bands that I'm curious to see. Unfortunately, if I'm as busy as I was last year on the boat, I really won't get to see that much.
Well, you know, that's the thing.
So we'll see what happens.
Well, and that's the thing is I remember I was all over the place, and I think I saw maybe a quarter of the bands, you know, but it was worth it. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it.
I mean, that's the one thing, like, you know, the cool thing about the boat is that a lot of the bands will play twice.
Yeah.
So if there's one band that you want to see and they're playing at the same time as another band, you may not have to see them this night. You can see them a following night or something like that. So they've got it staggered pretty good where most of the bands, I think, are playing 2 or 3 times on the boat in different spots at different times, so it'll work out. But for me last year, I literally got on the boat, I got checked into my room, my girlfriend and I went and had a drink at the bar, and then I had the sound check, and I played that night. Then we did the jam. So I did that. The following day when we got to Key West, they asked me to do a meet and greet. And, you know, I thought it was going to be maybe an hour and a half, whatever. We pulled into Key West, and I told my girlfriend, I literally had about 30 friends that came from Europe, Canada, Pittsburgh, like all over. And we hung out on the deck, you know, so I'm like, oh, well, you know, I'll do the meet and greet. I'll call you guys, you know, I'll find you guys in Key West when I'm done. And they got off the boat, and they came back on the boat like 5.5 hours later, and I was still in the meet and greet. So, you know, I was just constantly doing stuff. Then I had that shotgun wedding thing that I did with Lou Carl. So it was cool. You know what I mean? I've kind of somehow managed to become like the mayor of the boat. So
yeah, no doubt.
It'll be cool. I'm curious to see how much time I'll have off this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, we all look forward to it, and we look forward to seeing you perform again. I know I did catch you in one of those lounges, I think both times, and I just love that little feel of that little lounge. It was great. The new record, Unplugged, dropped here in the States in November, correct?
Yes, November 13th it came out.
And it's a combination of old songs from The Scream and Union and Crüe and some solo stuff. Did you, when you went into doing the record, was there any parties like, well, I kind of want to do all my own stuff? I mean, granted, it's all yours, but what brought the old songs into it?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I've been doing acoustic sets now for the better part of 2 years. I mean, I went out like a year or two ago with Cinderella, and I did a whole tour with them. And it was weird. Like, you know, I got to be honest with you, I was a little intimidated to go out totally by myself with an acoustic guitar and sit in front of a band like Cinderella, you know, in sold out shows every night, and walk out and play an acoustic guitar by myself. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, it's very weird. It's strange, you know, but it was weird. Probably about 2 or 3 shows in, the guys in Cinderella, and their tour manager, Larry Morand, who is now my manager, they basically sat there and they were like, we knew this would work. We knew this would work. A lot of people didn't think it would, but you know, I went out and, you know, probably about 2 or 3 shows in, man, I really started to get a great response. I felt a lot more comfortable. Again, I started telling funny stories and kidding around with members of the audience. And, you know, so the songs a couple of the songs just really kind of developed and just started to really go over well live, you know, like Hooligan's Holiday and, you know, some of that stuff. So I just wanted to do, I've always wanted to do an acoustic record, and, you know, again, you know, to mention Humble Pie, back when I was doing the Scream record, I had the good fortune of meeting Steve Marriott and Peter Frampton. And, you know, Steve was actually going to sing on the Scream record with me, and he said he liked the material, and he just sat there and he goes, you know, man, he goes, if you can do a song just on an acoustic guitar, even by yourself, with none of the stuff on it, no big drums, no big amps, nothing to hide behind, if you can just do this and entertain people, then you've got a good song. So there's been a few songs in my career that I thought were, you know, great, but I just wanted to kind of strip them down and give them a little bit of a different treatment, and just throw them out there again and just see what they sound like acoustically. And I worked with this, you know, new band that I have, and the guys were great. My guitar player, D.A., came up with a bunch of great harmony parts and all this other kind of stuff. And, you know, so I just said, why not? You know, let's put you know, 5 or 6 songs on there. You know, some people may embrace them. Some people may just sit there and scratch their head and go, what is he thinking? But, you know, I just figured it was like a little kind of a bridge the gap record. You know, I'm working on an electric record now, you know, but I could put this out and kind of just show people a different side of myself as well. So, you know, it was, I don't know. I just figured let's put a couple old songs on, a couple of new songs, and see where it goes, see where it takes me.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it turned out great. I mean, I honestly, not to kiss your ass, but I can't take it out of my CD player. I just let it go. You know, even the interview part, I just let that go too. You talk about in that interview and that track about how Crüe made you guys pull that Scream record. Why was the thought process
honestly,
behind that?
I don't know what the deal was. And, honestly, it was so long ago, and I don't remember, it could be because of, I've lost quite a few brain cells since then.
Yep.
It was just weird to me. Like, I just felt that, I don't know if it was part of, if Motley just said, okay, we want you to pull that, or if the record company just decided to just shelve that record and start fresh with the Scream in their second record. I don't know what the deal was, but for some reason that record was just kind of shelved. You know what I mean? Like they just never, whatever was on the shelves at the time, they just kind of let it sell out, and they just never kept that record going. And it's sad now because, right now it's, the same thing. Like I'm kind of dealing with that record label. Like I want them to put the record back out just so that the fans can, buy it for a somewhat reasonable price. I mean, I've literally met people that are purchasing the Scream record for $50, $80, $40, whatever. And I just want to get it out there. I want to get it on iTunes and with that avenue of being able to purchase music, I just want to get the stuff out there so people, if they are curious about it, or they may hear Father, Mother, Son in my set and go, God, what is that song from? Or where's Man in the Moon from? Oh, well, that was his band, The Scream. Well, where can I get it? I get so many emails about that record where, people would like to be able to buy it and they can't. So I contacted the label about a year ago, and I'm like, hey, is there any way for me to get those masters so I can, just put that record back out again? And oddly enough, it's weird. They're like, well, no, because you owe us all this money. That record really hasn't recouped yet. And which makes me scratch my head even more. And I'm going, well, if you're telling me that I owe you money, or if you're saying that the band owes you money, The Scream, why wouldn't you put the record out there to try and make up some of that money that you say we owe you?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just like the record companies, I don't know. I don't know what they think sometimes, and I don't know why it's such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same with the Union stuff. You can't buy the studio Union records on iTunes, which I just totally don't understand. It's not there. You can find the Motley record and my new record, the Unplugged album, but the Union stuff and the Scream is not on iTunes at all, which makes absolutely no sense to me in the age of the iPod.
Right,
you know
exactly,
what I mean?
Exactly. Now, in that interview, you were talking about a reissue with the second live CD. So there's no headway on that yet.
There's what now?
You were talking about the reissue of the Scream record with the second live CD from your last show
well,
with them?
Initially, to be honest with you, one of the other things, too, was that this acoustic record was going to come out on, Universal or a branch of Universal. And, I'm still trying to figure out what happened there. I had a contract with the American branch of Universal, and for some reason the London branch decided to not put the record out. It's just so weird how the politics of music, like for me, and it totally freaks me out. Like it really gets under my skin, and you know what I mean. It kind of plays around a little bit with the creative part, where I feel I should just be sitting at home playing a guitar and writing music all day long, and I'm always like I'm on the phone, wheeling and dealing, trying to make deals with my manager and trying to correct things and whatever, but it was, Universal was going to put this out, and the Unplugged record.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the deal, like as I was talking with them, I signed a contract, everything was great. We talked about the Scream album, and they said, oh yeah, well they own the masters because they own Hollywood Records.
Okay.
So they were like, okay, well, yeah, that would be great. Let's do a 20-year, whatever. We'll put the Scream album out, and then we could repackage it with that. It's the last show. It was the last show that I did with the Scream. And then literally 3 days later, I was in Motley Crue. So I'm like, well, that would be kind of cool for the people that maybe had the record, maybe never got to see the Scream. Why don't we do a reissue, leave it as it was? I don't need to remaster anything. I think the record sounds great as it is, and just package it with a double CD. Put the last live concert in there as well. And they thought it was a great idea, but unfortunately, one of the things, they asked me to put that tour together earlier this year, or now it's last year, 2012. Mm-hmm. I put a tour together in October, November, and December in Europe. And then literally 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks before I was supposed to go, the Universal people in London just kind of said, nah, we don't want to do the record. I had to quick scurry. I was, trying to figure out, I got a tour now. Now I've got no record labels. So then Rat Pack jumped in, and they've done an unbelievable job just playing catch up to all the things that I already had going, like the tour and the release date and all this other kind of bull. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing I can't stand about the music business is some of the business that's involved in it.
Right. I thought it was kind of ironic that on the record, Bruce Kulick played nothing on the Union songs, but he played on the Scream and the Crüe songs.
Well, I'm not the. I don't know whether it's like maybe I'm the spoon in the knife tray, but
yeah.
I just felt like having Bruce play on the Union stuff would be a given. So we just said, you know what? Why don't we have Bruce do a solo on the Motley stuff, on the Motley song, and then do a song, on Man in the Moon. So as it turned out, we kind of trade off. I do the first solo in Hooligan's Holiday. He does the solo at the very end as the song is going out. And then I do the first solo in Man in the Moon, and then he takes it, I do it about halfway through, and then he finishes it up, and he does all the stuff, all the little coloring solos all throughout the song. And he was totally cool with it. I wanted to have him play on a third one, but we didn't, he didn't have the time, and I couldn't sit around and wait, so it was all good.
Yeah, and then, I'm a big Kiss geek, so, just being able to hear Kulick play it, it's phenomenal. He's an amazing player. Father, Mother, Son, can you tell the story behind that song?
Well, that's it's not funny, but it's just one of those things, man. Every now and then, a song will just happen. It just comes. I don't know why. Maybe whatever. But when we were doing the Scream album, we got our deal, and they basically locked us away and said, want you guys to write. We basically, when we got our record deal, we only had 4 songs. So we had never done any gigs. We got a record deal, and we were writing, and one night I was just sitting there kind of working on another song. Mm-hmm. And while I was sitting there, which is something I do, I don't know if it's a good habit or bad habit, but I sit around all day, watching TV. I've always got a guitar in my hands, noodling around. Yeah. So I was sitting there working on one song, and this commercial came on the TV when I lived in California, and it was a public service announcement. It's this father, and he's talking to his son. You see him, he's looking down, and he's talking to his son, and he's saying things like, I wish you would have told me. I didn't know. I told you could talk to me about anything. And as he's talking, the camera's panning out, and then finally at the end of the commercial, you realize that he's really not talking to his son. He's talking to his son's headstone. And at the time, my son was probably 3 or 4 years old. He was running around the house, and I just kind of looked at him, and I was like, wow, I have no idea how it would feel to be in that guy's position. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I don't know what happened at that point. I literally have to say that is probably one of the fastest songs I've ever written in my life. some weird magical thing happened. I saw the commercial. I looked at my kid. I had the guitar, and I immediately, like, the first line just came out. It was like, Father, thanks for playing with my friends and me. And it just happened. Mm-hmm. I can't even explain it. Like, it literally, I wrote that song in its entirety in probably 40 minutes. And it's funny, like, not a little sidebar here, my old manager, John Greenberg, just sent me a package probably about a year ago. And he sent me thing in the mail, and we had just reconnected again. And he basically sent me the original lyrics. Like, when I wrote the song, I just sat down with a piece of paper, and I was scribbling, no, that sentence goes over here. And for some reason, he had the lyrics all these years. He's had them. So he just sent me the original lyrics, like, the night that I wrote it, and, whatever. So he just sent that to me, and 2 tickets from that Scream tour that we did from someplace, I don't remember where. And then his father had passed away, and his father had a Scream watch made with the logo on the face, and he sent me all that stuff. I thought it was really sweet. Wow. But, the fact that he saved those lyrics all those years is just amazing.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Now, I want to talk about the Crüe for just a little bit, if that's okay. When you went in to write that record with them, was there kind of vibe around there that they wanted to kind of move into a different direction? Because, I mean, obviously, you're not Vince. You don't sound like Vince. And I don't think the songs on that record, sound like, Vince songs at all. I mean, when you guys wrote that record, was there a mentality of just to kind of roll with what you do?
To be honest with you, like, everything that we did, a lot of people ask me this, was it planned? Was it not planned? A lot of people sit there and they go, well, Motley was just trying to grab a hold of the grunge thing that was just starting to, emerge. And I'm like, that all of these theories couldn't be farther from the truth. In all actuality, like, I went in, I auditioned with them on a Monday. I went in on a Monday, and basically I told Nikki that I wasn't real familiar with a lot of their songs. Did they have the lyrics there? And he's like, yeah, sure. So the first 2 songs that we did, I knew that they had covered Jailhouse Rock, mm-hmm. The old Elvis Presley song, and I knew that they had covered the Beatles tune, Helter Skelter. And so those 2 songs were the first 2 songs I did. Then we tried Feel Good, and we did Shout at the Devil, and, and they had the lyrics there. And I knew the melodies. I was kind of familiar, but I wasn't real, it wasn't like second nature to me. So we did those. They asked me if I would come back the next day, which I did. And I went back the next day, and I did the same thing. But this time, all of their wives were there, and they're all, like, their manager and their lawyer and all these different people. So I went in, I did the same thing again. I jammed with them. I probably got there at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, both times. Went in, we jammed, and the guys were like, okay, that's cool, thanks, whatever. And at 3 o'clock, 3:30, they were like, okay, let's knock this on the head. And I was just sitting there looking at it like, well, hold on a minute. Like, we're here. Let's just jam. Yeah. Let's, no set thing. You know what I mean? Let's just jam. So at one point I asked Mick if I could, what do you want to jam on? I go, well, let's jam some blues. I go, can I grab a guitar? So I picked up a guitar, and we jammed this Aerosmith song, or it's an old blues song that Aerosmith redid called Reefer Headed Woman. We jammed that for a little bit. I sang a little. Then Mick and I started trading back and forth, like some guitar solos. They were like, wow, you play as well? And I'm like, yeah, I can play guitar. Like, I actually started out as a guitar player. Okay, great. So then we did that. We did like Honky Tonk Woman, just goofing off. And and then I showed them, like, I had this riff, and I had this riff which eventually became well, it's kind of the main riff in Hammered.
Okay.
You know, so we just started jamming the riff, and we jammed it. Like, and that first night, like that night, we were so just pumped and jazzed. It just sounded so heavy and big and, you know, all this other stuff. We actually wound up writing probably 90% of Hammered that night. And then we started actually working on the beginning part, you know, after we kind of got Hammered done. Then Nikki goes, well, hold on a minute. Let me see, you know. So they grabbed an acoustic guitar, and they started with the acoustic beginning of Misunderstood. So they played that for me, and Nikki had the lyrics already. Like, he had the lyrics, you know, little old man contemplated suicide, like for that first verse or two of the acoustic part. And then, you know, so we worked on that, and I just started singing like a melody to his lyrics. They were just stoked, man. It was weird, like, and so was I. Like, I was going, wow, this is so freaking easy. It's ridiculous. Like, we've already kind of put together a song, Hammered, and now we're starting on a second song, which is great. Like, I loved that acoustic beginning, you know, and we just started goofing off with, you know, this second song, and, you know, so we kind of got the acoustic part of it together. And then they took a break, and they went out. Tommy went out to use the bathroom. Then Mick followed him out, and Nikki followed him out. And I think they kind of went into the bathroom. They left me in the room with the wives, which was a really huge mistake. Anyway,
Right.
They left me in the room, and then they came back, and I think they just kind of had a little conference for a minute in the bathroom, and they just came back, and Tommy sat on the drum riser, and Tommy goes, well, dude, he goes, you know, for me, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. He goes, welcome to the Crüe. You're the guy. And then at that point, I was there every day. You know, we went back the next day, and we started to get the heavier part to Misunderstood together. And it was just let the adventure begin. But there was really our whole thing the whole time was just kind of like, just go wherever everything takes us. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And there was really no rhyme or reason for anything. There was no, we got to write a record like Shout, or we got to write a record like Soundgarden, or we got to write a record like, you know, whatever. We just wanted to write a really great musical record, and the only thing we did was, the only rules that we had was that we would try every idea, regardless of if somebody thought it was stupid. That phrase didn't exist in our world. We tried everything, and we just knew. You know, whatever. And at the end of the day, we just kind of let the songs take us where the songs were supposed to go.
Right.
You know, and that was it. It was honestly, we wrote, you know, probably close to 30 songs, you know, for that first year. We demoed up a bunch of stuff, and then we got to work with Bob Rock. And, a lot of them he thought were very close, and there were some of them, like Hooligan's Holiday. The original version of Hooligan's Holiday sounded more like Highway Star or Livewire than it did Hooligan's Holiday.
Okay.
That was just something where, you know, we all kind of sat in the studio, and, you know, Bob would go, I don't know if that song's quite there yet. And we didn't argue with him. We were like, okay, well, you know what? When Bob came into the picture, it was still the same thing. If he thought it wasn't quite right yet, that was just, okay, well, then let's try some more stuff, you know, and it just happened. I can't explain it. It just was what it was. Again, there was no, you know, guidelines or format or whatever. We just wrote what we wanted. You know, the only thing that we really wanted to do was do something that was just like really cool, really like kind of full sounding, thick sounding, and we just wanted it to be somewhat eclectic because we were all, the one record that we all had on our list of favorite records was Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti. Mm-hmm. And that's a very eclectic record.
Right,
so we were like, we want to do acoustic stuff. We want to be able to do anything. And you know, they just wanted people to know that Motley can actually play. Motley wasn't a novelty band. Motley wasn't, you know what I mean?
Right.
And they're not. They're all stupidly musical.
Right.
And that's what we wanted to do, and I feel we did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when that came out, you know, I was one of those guys, well, it's not Vince, it's not Crüe, so I didn't get a chance. But I went back and I listened to it a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And
wait, hold on a minute.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so you can cut that and move it over to where you just said shit.
Oh, I know.
And then you can move it back to where I just said shit.
Yeah.
Twice.
Well, this part of it will be online, so it doesn't matter. But and all the Crüe heads that I know, they say that, you know, your record with them is probably their favorite, if not one of their top 3 Crüe records. And it's relevant to today's music. It really is. It's really stood the test of time.
Well, you know, and that's the thing. Like, you know, I think, to be honest with you, like the records, and I'm not trying to say I'm better than or worse than or whatever, but I think that the records that are true classic records that you can still sit down and listen to are the records where people weren't really paying attention to what was going on around them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You know, if our record sounds like grunge, then whatever, so be it. I mean, the bottom line of it is, a lot of people talk about, like on the Motley record, there's a couple songs that have a drop D tuning in it, mm-hmm. which is something that apparently, like Soundgarden does, you know, all this other stuff. Well, you know what? I hate to like inform everybody, but you know what? Black Sabbath was doing that in the late 60s and early 70s. I was a huge Black Sabbath fan. So I can honestly tell you that even at the end of the 70s, you know, early 80s, I was kind of experimenting with drop D tunings then. You know, the first 2 songs that I wrote, one was called I Want You By My Side, and the other one was called Insane. Mm-hmm. And both of them are drop D tuning. So I wasn't really doing anything. It wasn't like I was paying attention to what was going on around me at that moment. I like drop D tunings. I've used them in, you know, The Scream, Man in the Moon is a drop D tuning.
Yep.
There's a couple of them. Same with the Motley record. Same with the Union record. You know, and I've got a few now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, I like that thing, and it's something that I heard with Sabbath. Sabbath used to tune the low E string down a whole step, and then it just gave the guitar like just a little bit of a thicker, or, you know, whatever.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I think the bands that actually, you know, don't really kind of pay attention, they do their songs, they stay true to themselves. And honestly, I think if you listen to the Scream record, or you listen to the Motley record, or even the Union stuff, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's still kind of relevant, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on around me. Well, I still don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing, is like, you got to be yourself. You know, it's if you're okay. Well, that's hot right now, so I got to write a record like that. You're going to be a flash in the pan. You know, if you stay true to what you are, you know, it really brings more relevance to the music, I think, personally.
Right, and it's weird, you know, like, and every decade is the same. Like, everybody's like, oh, you know, the 80s, you know, Motley got signed, and then they started signing all these other bands that look like Motley, and Poison got signed. You know, the bottom line of it is, they did that even with the Beatles. You know, the Beatles
absolutely.
did their thing, and then there was the Stones and the Who and like all these, this wave of bands. Everybody was signing like every Tom, Dick, and Harry that even remotely resembled the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a few that, rose to the occasion, and all the others just kind of fell along the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
And, it happened again in the 70s. To me, I think that as far as music goes, the 70s, late 60s and early 70s were probably the most eclectic time of music. And then the 80s, a couple bands got signed, Bon Jovi. They wound up having platinum records, which wasn't really, platinum, multi-platinum albums, and then, all the record companies went ape shit again.
Right.
Trying to find the next Bon Jovi or the next Motley Crue or the next Guns N' Roses or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of those bands that are kind of not really here anymore are the bands that, like Guns N' Roses is still here. Same with Motley. Same with, there's a few of the bands that just kind of did their own thing. They weren't really paying attention to what was going on around them. They're still here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, they had their
all
vibe.
The other ones that were copying what they were doing have kind of fell along the wayside, and they're not, they're just whatever. And, there's something to be said for that. You know what I mean? There's a reason why the Beatles have sold 1 billion records and Jerry and the Pacemakers haven't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
So
I saw a recent YouTube video of you playing, and you told a story about when you got fired from Crüe. And
this is going to come back to bite me in the ass.
Yes,
I know it.
the one about a pistol in your mouth. You care to share that story with us?
It's so funny. Like, I say a couple things throughout my set.
Uh-huh.
And I say it to lighten up the situation. You know what I mean? Like
right.
when I talk about that time when I was leaving Motley, like there was a few people in the audience that were like, oh, like they kind of, they were sad or they make these comments, and I'm really not looking to play the sympathy card. I'm just telling a story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was funny, like, I did this one hand gesture now. Like, I was kidding around. Like, I go, I go to the studio one day, and, it was weird, like, I showed up, and, like, all the managers and everybody were there, and then Motley told me the whole thing about how the record company wouldn't support this lineup of Motley. They wanted to bring Vince back. And as a joke, I went, I thought I handled it pretty good. I totally understood what they did. And then I just kind of turned for a second, and I made a hand gesture where I, like, with my hand,
uh-huh.
and I put, like, a gun in my mouth, like, with my hand. I'm like, oh, I thought I handled it like a man. And so I did this hand gesture.
Uh-huh.
And I said, but I was kidding. A few people laughed. I'm like, yeah, I just reached into my glove box and I pulled my gun out. Luckily, it wasn't loaded.
Uh-huh.
And they were, some people laughed. But apparently somebody or a few people now have thought that I was totally serious when I said this.
Well,
and I have done, I've probably done 5 or 6 interviews now where people are like, so dude, were you like really that depressed where you were like, you were going to like off yourself in your car? And I'm like, no. I was just trying to be funny. Like it was just like a light, like I was just trying to lighten up the moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, it's weird. Like I'll do a love song, and then right before the love song, I just sit there and I go, yeah, if anybody knows my back catalog or they've listened to some of my songs, you'll realize that most of the songs that I write are to women that I'm currently giving all of my money to. You know what I mean?
Right,
and it's they're about women that I'm currently giving all my money to. And everybody's laughing, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, you can laugh all you want. I'm the one that has to write the checks. I kid around with them.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And it was
right.
just this one lighthearted thing, you know what I mean? And it's weird. Like, I tell the story about the girl, like it was weird. That last year, I was struggling with the guys. I kind of thought they might be bringing Vince back. They were telling me that they weren't. I was kind of hearing rumblings. Like, there was all this stuff going on. In all honesty, like, I was pulling my freaking hair out. You know, I was concerned about certain things, you know, like anybody else would, job security, like, how am I going to pay for this house? How am I going to pay for the car? I'm dating this young model that wants to be an actress. I'm dating her. You know, it was just like a combination of all these things. And I'm like, you know, my mom passed away. My son was diagnosed with diabetes. I lose my Motley gig. And then this girl leaves me, you know, and I was just like, you know, whatever. I thought I handled it like a man. And I just made this hand gesture and I stuck my fingers in my mouth like a gun, you know, and it's, you know, and somebody just kind of ran with it. And, you know, like, so I've had these people like, you know, I'm doing interviews now and people are going, well, dude, if you need the number for like the suicide hotline, you know, it's, you know, it's 1-800, you know, whatever, you know, and I'm like, no. It's like, this might sound really vain, but I love myself too much to like, whatever, end it over something that, whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, that's just crazy.
Well, you know, and that's one of the things with YouTube nowadays too, is that you can say something, or, you know, if the internet in general, you can say something and people don't take it in context. They don't realize that you might have been joking, and then all of a sudden it's this whole big PR affair. You know?
It's just it really is weird. You know, well, even with emails or texts or whatever,
absolutely.
We've all become so disconnected. You know what I mean? And that's what I love. Like, you know, at the time when I was doing it, like, I was laughing, like, people were literally laughing when I was saying it, you know? So now all of a sudden there's been this rash of interviews that I've done since this record came out, and people are asking me about, like, you know, the time I almost committed suicide. And I'm going, what are you talking about? Well, I saw this YouTube video, or somebody wrote in this thing that you like, when Motley let you go, that you got into your car and and then it dawned on me, like, I told that story like twice.
Yeah, and then
like,
somebody happened
around.
to catch it. Yep.
And oddly enough, like, the same story will not be the same night to night. Like, I have no filter, no breaks when I'm talking. And it's just whatever comes out of my mouth, comes out of my mouth. And it was funny. It actually evolved into the whole thing about the Motley thing. And then, you know, I was sitting there talking about the girl and then how she left. And then I would actually start going into the song, Robin's song by Union. Well, then it actually wound up being a situation where I would say to everybody, you know, I'm going to play you this next song that wound up being on the Union album, but you know what? I just want to share with you guys how songs evolve. This is the song a couple days after she left. Here's what the song sounded like, and I do this, like, total metal riff on an acoustic guitar, and I just start going, da-da-da-dun, 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 da-da-da, bitch, da-da-da-dun, da-da-da-dun. So, and I do this thing, and it's a joke. Like, the audience laughs, they clap, and I'm like, now here's what it sounded like when I, you know, played around with it for a little bit, and we recorded it on the record. And then I play this sappy ballad.
Well,
it's a joke. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm glad I know the real story now, and I feel like an idiot for asking about it.
No. It's fine. Like, you know what? And to be honest with you, like, if I saw an interview or something like that on YouTube, and, you know, look, I'm a fan as well. I'm a fan. I just sat last night. I'm doing this jam here in Nashville on Saturday with a bunch of friends of mine, and we're doing Toys in the Attic and Rock in their entirety at this place called the Mercy Lounge. So I'm going to sing a bunch of stuff, and huge Aerosmith fan, love Steven Tyler. You know, so I was going online last night on YouTube, and I'm watching, like, you know, Adam's Apple from, like, 1974 and all this. Well, I found an interview with Steven Tyler. Sat down for an hour and a half interview on YouTube with Oprah Winfrey, and it's amazing. Like, I mean, he takes you to his house, and he's, you know, he's talking about his drug use, and, just ex-wives and just all this stuff, dude. And I'm a bit of a fan too, but I listen to some of the things that he's saying. I'm going, wow, like, you know, I don't know if he's just talking or like, you know what I mean? Whatever. You don't know, like if that was just that moment, or if he's joking, if he's serious, if you know, whatever. But in all honesty, I said this like a couple of times, and for some reason, somewhere, somehow, somebody started this thing that when John left, or when Motley got rid of John, he was so depressed, he went into his car and he pulled a gun out of the glove box, stuck it in his mouth and pulled the trigger, but realized it wasn't loaded.
and actually, that's how I came across that thing. Is that there was a link on somebody on Facebook put the link up from some metal hard rock site that had the story about John wanted to commit suicide, and
yeah,
that's how it starts.
It's really so. I mean that in itself is funny, but you know, whatever. It was really like. Not to dive too much into whatever. I've been to a rehab before, and it was funny. It was like they sat and they talked about how people that have issues usually mask their issues with humor. You know, and it's whatever. You know what I mean? Like I try to be a person that doesn't cry over spilt milk, and you know, I've got a tattoo across my chest that says life is exactly how it should be. And you know what I mean? So I was just telling my story, and I realized that after a couple of days of telling the story about how I wrote the song and what happened and what led up to that song, there was people in the audience that were, I guess, maybe feeling sympathy or whatever for me, and I didn't want. That's not what I was going for. You know what I mean? I just wanted to tell them how the song came about, and it just started to evolve into this funny, stupid story, and it just kind of got blown out of proportion. I guess I don't know. Whatever.
Last question for you, then we'll. You have a favorite solo track on the record?
Favorite what now?
A favorite solo track on the Unplugged record?
You know, in all honesty, for me, songs are very much like
children.
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, I put so much time and effort into like every word and the lyrics, and the melody and just the performance of each song. You know what I mean? But they've each got something to do with a time in my life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like. Honestly, the song is more like a diary than anything, you know what I mean? Or the album, like there's a little bit there from every time in my life. And I can go back to, you know, I could go back and tell you, you know, if you pick the song, I could tell you what that song was about and why I wrote it. And, you know, so it's really hard to go, what is your favorite? Of all the songs you've written, what's your favorite?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So I'm looking at the CD right now. If I never get to say goodbye, which you wrote with Frank Hannon.
Well, no, there's another misconception.
Oh, okay.
Which I need to clear up. The gentleman that wrote that song, and he wrote "Crash with Me," is a gentleman here in Nashville named Gary Hannon.
Oh, okay. I suppose I could have read the liner notes a little bit better.
Well, no, Gary's awesome. He's a great songwriter, and oddly enough, those two songs came about. I was here in Nashville trying to write music for other people, and I had a couple of songs written, and I had the great fortune of meeting a gentleman. You know, if there's anybody out there that's a little bit of a music history buff, I met a gentleman named Steve Cropper.
Steve the Colonel
at like a benefit, like some sort of benefit, and Steve had invited me to his studio, and we were actually tracking a different song, and while they were trying to get tones in the booth, drum tones, I was sitting in the back of the room with an acoustic guitar. And I was playing If I Never Get to Say Goodbye. I had the melody, and I had some lyrics, but not too many. Like it was a scattered idea. And Steve just turned around and he goes, in his voice, he's like, "Hey boy, what are you playing there?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's just this idea I have." And he goes, "Well, that sounds like a great tune." And I go, "Yeah, I got a melody and I got the chords, but I don't have any lyrics." So he picked up the phone and he called this gentleman, Gary Hannon, and Gary came to the studio with a yellow notepad, and Steve goes, "He's got a great idea. You guys need to finish this thing up." And we went into this room, and initially I wanted to call it If Tomorrow Never Comes. Mm-hmm. And Gary stopped me dead in my tracks, and he goes, we can't call it that. And I go, "Okay, why?" He goes, "Well, there's already a song by this guy named Garth Brooks
oh, yes,
called If Tomorrow Never Comes." And I go, "Well, I don't even know who Garth Brooks is, nor do I care." Like, he's like, "No, you can't do that, man. You can't do that here in Nashville. You can't do that." And I'm like, "Dude, are you kidding me?" Like, and so then we had a little debate. I'm going, "Wait a minute. Do you know how many songs there are, rock songs, called Heartbreaker? Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, Grand Funk Railroad, Pat Benatar. Like, come on, really?" And he's like, "No, can't do it." So we sat down. We came up with If I Never Get to Say Goodbye, which was pretty much the same concept. And then we sat down and wrote the lyrics, and it was just basically, just about, every day you leave your house, man, whether it's your parents, your mother, your wife, your girlfriend, your kids, whatever, always let them know that you love them, tell them you love them, and then leave the house, because you never know what the bigger picture is. You know what I mean? You never know what the bigger picture is, especially now. That song is so prevalent with everything that's happened with that Batman movie theater and those kids in that school in Connecticut, and just some of the crazy insanity bullshit that's going on right now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And if I can elaborate a little bit, my old manager, Tim, had this happen to him. He one day was like coming home from a vacation with his wife, and he borrowed a friend's boat, and he was dropping it off, and the friend had a disagreement with some other crazy dude, and the dude just came back to his house with a gun and killed the friend, shot my manager, and killed my manager's wife.
Oh, man.
And, like, just that stuff, you know what I mean, is just like, ugh, So I sat down, and I had always wanted to say, like I said, if tomorrow never comes, you know what I mean? The whole concept was, if tomorrow never comes, I love you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We changed it to If I Never Get to Say Goodbye, and it's basically, that's what it's about. Like, I use a girl in context with the song, but if I never get to say goodbye, she knows I love her. That's not going to change. So it was basically inspired by, for lack of a better term, what happened with my manager and his wife. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So.
And by Steve Cropper, of course, you mean Steve the Colonel Cropper, the immortal one from the Blues Brothers, and Sam and Dave, correct?
Absolutely, dude. That guy is the coolest mofo you've ever met in your life. Like, he is, that guy just oozes badass. Like, I can't explain it. Like, when he just talks, dude, like, I went to the studio he had, and he's got photos of him on stage with the Stones, and, he's got, like, all these gold records. He wrote Sitting on the Dock of the Bay with Otis Redding. Mm-hmm, and absolutely. He, like, just all these amazing songs that we've grown up and heard, like, for years.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's just like, dude, that guy just talks, and he's just got this way about him. And him, but at the end of the day, all the success the guy's had, he's a living legend, mm-hmm. and he is the sweetest person you've ever met. Him and his wife, Angel, are just awesome people. I've been to their house for dinner, and we hang out, and we'll have, many, many bottles of wine, and just sit down and just have a great dinner and just chat about life and kids and just stuff. Mm-hmm. And he's awesome. really cool guy.
And he was in the greatest movie of all time, bar none, The Blues Brothers.
There you go. That was the full John Corabi interview from my Rockin' 101 days. Fun. And boy, that boy can talk. Boy, he can talk. But always has something interesting to say. Of course, Adrian Dater from Bleacher Report joining me before that. A nice long conversation about the greatest sport on earth, hockey. Hashtag make hockey great again. Next week in studio, Duff Goldman. And the great Bob Boole will be on again in a couple weeks talking NFL draft and yada, yada, yada. Everything that comes with it and some other stuff that he has to spill the beans on. I'm just going to see how long I can do that. Tomorrow night, every Wednesday night, you can catch me at Lucky Strike for Sound Check Live. It is a Ferlazzo production. It is a weekly quote-unquote jam that is absolutely amazing. Top-notch players, top-notch named players each and every week. Such a great show. Never a cover. Come on down. Lucky Strike right on Hollywood and Highland. If you're in the LA area, come check that out every single week. An honor to be hosting that thing. Truly is. All right. Make sure you check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/Another Effing Podcast. Hit up that Twitter machine on my quest for 1 million followers. And if you want to support the show monetarily, you absolutely can. Izzy.Presley@gmail is the PayPal. And what else do we got? This has been an Izzy Presley production. I will see you next week. Yes, it is true. I do, in fact, love you all.